wakes up. Wake up, Glenn, Angel, and the Flying Dutchman.
Wake up in the morning feeling like
Kiss 92's Big Show.
Good morning, good morning. If you're not already on The Big Show and The Big Show TV, tell all your friends about it, because on Facebook and YouTube at Kiss 92 FM, we have our very own astronaut in the studio. It is none other than Nicolina Elrick. Now, she is Scotland's first woman to go up into space and Singapore's first PR or ever, female or male, to ever go up into space. And she's the only person I've known to ever go up into space. Welcome into the studio once again, Nicolina.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for coming in. Okay, so you were here end of July, and it was all secretive. When are you flying? Can't tell you. Where are you flying from? All those details were very, very tight.
It really was. I mean, that's the thing about rocket science. It's like it's constantly changing. It's like a sliding scale. So initially we were told, I was meant to launch in 2022, and then delayed 23, and then 24 we were on standby. But there was health and safety is number one concern for them. So they were like, no, you're meant to fly this day. I was hoping to fly for National Day and bring the Singapore flag with me. But then we got notice a couple of weeks earlier that was delayed. So I was like, I gotta wait. And of course we can't tell anyone because of safety reasons. They want to make sure there's no nefarious people around to try and jeopardize our launch. So we don't tell anyone until we're actually on the launch pad and doing our training. And so that's literally like 5 days prior to launch. And so I couldn't tell you guys. I knew what my launch date was when I was here, and I was so excited, but I wasn't allowed to declare what it was until I was on the launch. So
okay, and so walk us through it, because clearly we haven't been close to a rocket or a launch pad. So tell us.
Nowhere near.
Tell us what that day was like, the 29th of August.
Yeah, so it was really exciting. So I got there a week beforehand. We go into quarantine. We're allowed to bring a +1 with us to do the quarantine with me. So I brought my daughter, who's here with us today in the studio. It was really great. We do the whole day of training. We wake up at 6 a.m. We go on site. We look at the rocket. We feel the rocket. We smell the rocket. We get all around it the whole time. So it becomes muscle memory for us, so that when we're in it and we're doing our launch, nothing is secondary. It all becomes immediate reaction to what we need to do. And of course, we've done all our training prior to that, which is like the 0G, the vomit comet, all that kind of fun stuff. But actually on the launch, when we're there on site, is more the health and safety aspect. Like if someone gets sick on board, or if someone has a heart attack, or if someone panics, any of those things, or if our straps don't work when you're coming down back into orbit from space back onto Earth, all those things we had to try and pre-mitigate in case anything happened. I mean, thankfully, touch wood, nothing did.
Yes, and you're here to tell the tale.
I'm here to share the story.
Oh my gosh, so incredible though.
It really was. I mean, it was just from the moment that we get there for training till the moment we actually land back on Earth afterwards, it's just revolutionary. It really is. It's a mind-changing shift in every aspect of it.
Did you experience zero gravity? Because it sounds like the journey was huge, and it was, of course, with the amount of training and everything that goes on leading up to it. But in reality, the trip only lasted 10 minutes,
that
right?
was it. So it's been 10 years training in the process. I've been talking about this for 10 years.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, she's going to space. When's it happen? And on the actual day, I say to people, it's a day trip, because on the day, there's a lot of pre-prep, and then you're on the launch, and you're like in a bomb shelter prior to it as well, to make sure that everything on board is okay. And we all get a last minute ask as well. So while we're sitting in the bomb shelter, they call it number 7 crew, the 6 of us who are crew on the shuttle, and number 7 crew is the one who trains us. She comes into the shuttle and says, right, this is your last chance. Are you ready to fly? And so you get asked all one by one, are you ready to fly? Are you ready to fly? And that is your last opportunity. Someone is allowed to turn around and say no.
No, right.
Ooh. And so they have sandbags on the ready that they will put in place, because everything is weight coordinated. So they have sandbags ready.
To replace that weight.
Yeah,
oh,
wow.
wow.
And so all of us say yes, and then as soon as we were all like high-fiving, saying yes, and then we all like walk the gangplank. This is a famous gangplank that you walk across, and you ring this bell to say you're going on space, and you walk into the shuttle. And that's kind of the infamous kind of walk that everybody sees in the movies.
Yeah.
And you get into the shuttle, and then crew 7 pops their head in and says, you sure you're good to fly? Thumbs up. We all do the thumbs up, and then they lock you in.
Oh,
and when that
gosh.
happens, you get your 5-point harness on. You look on the right-hand side of me, there's a floor-to-ceiling window. Right in front of me, there's a monitor that tracks how high you're going, the speed you're going, the velocity, the temperature, everything. And then to the left of me is all my crewmates. And so when you're counting down, they say to you, and we know it's only going to be a 10-minute in outer space, but you're sitting there for like at least an hour beforehand, you're getting ready, And then you listen to the comm center telling you we're going to count down. But in your training, you're told. In the movies, you see 3, 2, 1, lift off. It's not like that at all. It's
What is
3,
it?
2, 1, and there's 7 more seconds after.
Okay, wait, hold on. Hold that thought. 7 more seconds. Find out what happens after that. Let's go to the Big Show TV. Join us on YouTube and Facebook, Kiss 92 FM. Right now, here's Sabrina Carpenter with Feather. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, so you have the 7 sectors. So you literally listen to your comm center. They go 3, 2, 1, and then because we know that, we start going around. We count each other down in the shuttle. So we're like 7, 6,
Oh, right,
5.
okay.
But during that time, the burners start, the flames go out. You see all the debris flying off the launch pad to the right-hand side, and then the whole cabin goes red from the fire of the flames of the rocket.
Oh, my
And you
gosh.
remember, we're basically sitting on a bomb.
Yeah.
And so while you're sitting there, you're like,
Is it crazy hot? I mean, do you feel it?
We
You
don't
don't
feel the warmth at all. I mean, you have all the shields around the rocket.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't go out of orbit because there's a differential of temperatures going into space. And so you don't feel any heat. I mean, the adrenaline's pumping, you start sweating, but it's got nothing to do with the outside temperature. It's just pure like adrenaline going. And you hold on. I'm white knuckling the side of my chair the whole time, and I'm looking out the window and I'm seeing this debris, and we're counting down, and then it starts shaking. The whole shuttle vibrates, and as it vibrates, it slowly goes up. And you think it's going to propel. That first 2 seconds after launch just feels infinity. You feel like you're sitting there for an hour and you're
Your heart
gliding.
has stopped. It's just
Yeah,
like, I can feel it
really.
already.
You have to remind yourself to breathe. You're like,
Yeah.
take a breath. And you're like just in this mode. It's just incredible. And as you're going up to the right-hand side, you're just watching Earth get smaller. And you're going through the clouds. I'm looking at my monitor and it says 35,000 feet. That's where planes fly. I'm like, I've done this before.
Yeah,
50,000 feet. I've done this before. And then suddenly, like a flick of a switch, it goes black. And
That's space.
That's space.
That's past the common line.
Well, you hit space before the Karma line. You hit space around
Oh, right,
80
okay.
kilometers high is when it gets pitch dark.
Okay.
Karma line's 100 kilometers high. We went to 105.
Oh.
And so when you're up there, 105 is apogee, which is the highest point that you get to. And just before you reach that is when the shuttle and the capsule disconnect from one another. So the capsule, everything is reusable. The shuttle comes down first. So everyone who's on ground sees that coming back to Earth first. So they know that we're already in space.
Right. Okay.
And so we're floating around in space for that famous 10 minutes the Blue Origin gave
Oh,
us.
so you're up there 10 minutes. So but the entire journey
Yeah.
from liftoff to
10
landing
minutes, 10
was
seconds.
was how long?
10 minutes, 10 seconds.
No way. It was 10 seconds just to get up there.
Takes about less than a minute.
Wow. What?
Yeah. You go Mach 3, which is just under 4,000 kilometers an hour that you're pinned down. It was quite funny. I came back to Singapore immediately after we'd done our road show. But I came back to Singapore and I was talking to an F1 driver, and he was like, we ride 2,000 kilometers an hour pinned to our chair. And I was like, that's really great. I've done 4,000 to a chair. And he's just like, sure you have. And I went, yeah. And he's like, how would you ever do that? And I'm like, because I'm an astronaut.
Yeah.
And his face just dropped. And I'm like, well, this is what we do.
Just showing off a little bit.
I had to be a girl flex.
Of course,
It
you
had
had
to
to
be,
do it.
woman empowerment. It was like guys have to flex all the time. It was like, hold on a minute, us girls are allowed to do that too. We're allowed to
Absolutely.
do a little bit of self-bragging to be like, we can achieve these things as well.
So there was zero gravity. Yes.
Yes. So
For
when
how long was that?
when
10 sec?
No, the zero gravity was about 4 minutes.
Okay. And what was that like?
That was amazing. So for me, I'd already done during my training throwing candy in the air. We did water bubbles. We did the spinning and the tumbles and all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, that's not what I want to do. I mean, we all had a mission on board. So there was like science mission. There was all these different things that were happening. So everybody was busy for the first minute or so. And then, of course, we do the obligatory kind of, there's 26 cameras in the shuttle. So we do the obligatory like hands up, high fives, all hugging each other. Well, I was crying. I was like, oh my God, we made it to space. And then we're like, okay, we're going to sit down. So for me, it was the view. And they tell us during training, don't touch the windows. Don't put your face on it. No fingerprints, no nothing.
You
and of
did,
course,
didn't
I'm
you?
floating in space and I'm smacking my hands in the face. It's amazing. And I was just floating there with my hands like a gecko stuck to the windows. And I'm just like looking outside.
Could you see Earth?
Mesmerized. Yes.
The whole time?
So I look down and you see that thin blue line like you see in the movies. And like even now I'm getting goosebumps about it. And you just have this fragility. So I got so overwhelmed, tears start crying. And I just said, okay. And I clipped myself back into the chair and I just looked outside. And it just was mesmerizing. It was like the blackness of space is not black. It's like it's metallic gray. No, it's metallic gray.
Wow.
And it has like a sparkle effect to it. I didn't see stars per se. Well,
Pretty
that's what I
stars,
thought.
yeah.
So you didn't see stars?
I did not see stars, but I saw the sparkle in the sky. But they say it's to do with the refraction of your eyes.
right.
Okay.
So did you see other planets at all? Or just just
No,
Earth and that was
surprisingly,
it?
I did not. Maybe the next mission when I do my walk.
2027. We do want to talk about that. You're kind of in conversations, right?
Yes, we'll talk about that after.
Okay.
But yeah, so when I was looking at the window, I didn't see that, and I just looked down and I see Earth, and it just seems so fragile. You do not see you don't see borders, you don't see greenery or blue or brown. It's just all one big blue marble, and you look at it and you just think, wow. And I just felt like I felt this need to rescue it somehow. Like they say you're changed forever after you have this experience.
I would think so.
And I really feel like I have.
So you say so it's changed your perspective on how you can do better for Mother Earth, right?
Everything. Absolutely 100%. And it's made me value the simple things that we have in life. Little things like running water. Like I do take that for granted every day. Since I came back, it was like, kissing the
Switch the
ground.
tap off.
And it was like, how do we save the water and stop being so wasteful? How do we take care of all these things? How do we recycle better? How do we... All these things that are good for the planet made me so much more accepting of that. Like it was, and motivational. I felt like for all those little girls who always felt never had dreams come true, I'm a walking example that it does happen. I don't come from money, I don't come from privilege. I've worked really hard all my whole life to get where I've got, and it's hard. As a woman, particularly as a white woman representing Singapore, I encountered a lot of backlash, and I tried my utmost to do proud for Singapore. And I was like, I want to do something that makes people proud, not just women, not just little girls, but everybody of any generation, any color, any nationality. And it's really important to show them that I could do that.
Okay, let's continue this conversation on air.
When I'm a billionaire, I wanna be a billionaire so freaking bad.
Kiss 92 traffic.
On the AYE towards the MCE after the PIE exit, avoid lane 3. An accident has been spotted. Also on the PIE heading west towards Tuas before Pioneer Road North, avoid lane 4. A vehicle's broken down. If you spot anything at all, it's 8855-0920. We are spending Friday morning with Nicolina Elrick. She is the first Scottish woman to go into space, the first Singaporean to go into space, and only the 59th woman, is it, to
95th woman in the
95th
world.
woman? I thought 59.
Wow.
That's
Did I
still top
say?
100.
Yes, top
am.
100.
Can I share my numbers?
Please do.
Sure.
So I'm the 661st person in history to ever cross the Kármán line.
Okay.
So if you imagine that like space has been going around, people are going to space for 50 years, we've only had 661 people doing that. So that's pretty incredible. I was one of only 701 people to ever experience space, including suborbital flights. I was among the elite 85 women ever to pass the Kármán line. I was the 10th woman to fly with Blue Origin, and I'm part of the exclusive club of 95 women to have ventured into space beyond the 80-kilometer line.
What does it take for us to get into space? Say I want to go into space. I've made the decision today. What do I have to do?
10 years of training.
Well,
Does it really take 10 years of training just to do that flight?
Well, no. If you want to do suborbital,
Yeah.
you can sign up and just buy a ticket with them. So
That's your
suborbital
space
flights
tourism,
is
right?
a space tourism.
Yeah.
So Virgin Galactic, Blue Origin, and SpaceX do that. But then obviously governments now are working hand in hand with the commercial agencies to get people up there too. So Australia are about to send their first person too. That's working with Axiom, which is also a commercial space agency. So they're trying to work that way around as well. So I think it's really important to celebrate all those achievements rather than being it's commercial or it's tourist, because even the astronauts who work for government, like I work with NASA astronauts all the time, and I say to them, oh, you must be really upset with all these people who are flying on commercial flights and calling themselves astronauts. And they're like, no, because we wouldn't have a secondary career. We wouldn't be consultants to teach you guys what you should be doing. So everybody is benefiting from it. It's not just a billionaire rich kind of joy club. They're actually getting everyone else into it too. And there's a lot of, they try and counterbalance it. Not everybody who's in a shuttle is a paid person. They all pay somehow.
Right.
but they'll be sponsored by different agencies or sponsored by companies.
So it is a possibility for everyone.
So we've got a listener on Facebook who has a very interesting question from
Okay.
Eric. So Eric asks, I've always wanted to know when you're in your spacesuit with your helmet and your face or your body has a different part which is itchy, how do you scratch?
How do you scratch that itch?
Yeah, how do you
Well,
scratch?
no one actually, because of technology now, nobody actually has to wear a helmet when they're flying up and down to space. So SpaceX do use them when they're doing the ride up to the International Space Station, but technically they don't actually need it. You only need the helmets now when they're doing a spacewalk. So a spacewalk obviously is a completely
when you
different
get
atmosphere.
out
When
of
you get
the-
out of the actual
right.
shuttle. But when you're in it, you don't actually have to wear a helmet at all.
So even when you go into deep space, you don't have to. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
you don't have to.
Incredible.
Well, at least
Okay.
now you know when you're itchy, you can just scratch.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, your body does contort a lot when you're going through the different pressures of
Yeah.
space. I mean, at one point, my face was like, completely flattened to one side. And I heard through the comm center, turn your head, Nicolina, turn your head. And as soon as I turned, I was
cameras.
like, oh, it went back again. Oh, that feels right. Yeah.
And I'm sure everything was filmed and photographed.
all the time.
Is there going to be a little documentary or any sort of YouTube thing that's going to come out of
Well,
this?
I have a little clip that's like a 3-minute clip. So when I do presentations to schools or corporations, it's a 3-minute clip that shows me doing a little somersault, high-fiving my team, doing a little bit of my training prior and post it. So
Yep.
yeah, that's on my Instagram and also
Okay. Let's see if we can pull that and then show it on the Big Show TV, which is where we're going to go right now. If you want to watch a little bit of Nicolina's training, you can do so. Join us on Facebook and YouTube. It's Kiss 92 FM. The time now is 8:20.
Kiss 92 Time Check brought to you.
Okay, so we're going to pull that video and we're going to show it in a bit on. Any other comments on?
I have a
You have-
scientific question.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So you, I don't know how to put this. You fly up to space. I actually do diving, right? So in the water when you're diving, it's a compressed situation, and we have a rule like after diving, you can't take a flight. Within a 48
Certain
hours,
amount of-
yeah, 24 hours to 48 hours, right? Is it the same when you go up to space and come back down? Because then you need to take a flight to come back home. Do you have like a cool down period?
depending on how long you spend in space. I mean, for me, day trip. So it's your body is not that changed from it. And then we have a debrief the next day. So they make sure we stay on land 24 hours afterwards to then go through every sort of process. It may be such a short period of time, but every single astronaut experienced a completely different peripheral of what they saw, what they experienced,
Yeah.
how they smell, touch, everything that happened. So you have to debrief for 24 hours. But I don't believe that fly and dive thing 24 hours is always a safety net for everybody.
Yeah, it's a
I mean,
safety
if you're
net.
going to the International Space Station and you're zero gravity for a long time, you lose the peripheral of how to walk properly. So I think that's more a health issue of like trying to make sure you have momentum first before you do anything else that's a completely different peripheral.
Interesting.
Is that the next target, the International Space Station?
Yeah.
The International Space Station gets pulled down in 2028.
Okay.
So SpaceX have already got the contract for that. They're going to pull it down, dump it in the Pacific Ocean, and make it a diving reef.
okay.
now you brought up-
So it's
now
going to
you
be
brought-
put together.
yes.
But why are they pulling it down though?
Well, it's already starting to deteriorate.
Okay.
They was meant to stop in 2024, and they extended it a few more years to make sure that they had some sort of backup system. But unfortunately, now it doesn't seem to be an international space station happening. I mean, there's already,
Different
China
people
has
have
their
theirs.
own space
Yeah.
station. Russia's built their own that's going up next year. So they have all these different ones. The commercial ones are like VAST is built one, which is amazing. And so they're hoping that would be more of an international side. So that's kind of the backup that's going up.
So obviously you know a lot about space.
Yeah, eat,
How-
breathe, and sleep it.
How much is up there besides planets and the stars and all that? You're talking about the
see-
Russian space station going up. The Chinese one is there, and
Yeah.
there's other one called VAST. But
Yep.
how much is up there now?
Well, the issue right now is too many satellite systems. So the issue, I believe, in the next few years is space debris. And so I'm talking about this at a conference next year in Sydney, the IAC conference, because I feel space debris is an issue that we all have to talk about, because every country, instead of working hand in hand together, want to send their own satellite up.
Yeah.
So if you send your own satellite up, we're just completely smothering the whole Earth. And then you can't fly rockets up to other planets, and you can't go on different missions because your whole pathway to get there is going to be blocked. So we need to find a way to kind of get other government agencies to work together and work hand in hand.
And maybe halve the amount
And
that
half
is.
the amount that we're putting up there. And then that way we can send more rockets up to then discover other things there. I mean, having international space stations or independent space stations is great because we're testing a lot of stuff. Everything accelerates in space. I did come back older, if you noticed.
No, really? That's it. They say accelerate
It
your
really
skin,
does.
and it really.
It does, absolutely.
So
does.
if you spent like a week, which you want to do, you're going to be like 95 by the time you
yeah,
come
well,
back.
that's it, exactly.
Wow, she looks so good.
No, she does. I'm not saying she looks old, but okay,
No.
tell us about 2027, is it? Or 8?
Yeah, so
2027.
I'm currently negotiating a contract. Well, I've already put it out there. SpaceX and I are in major discussions right now for me to fly. It's called the Dragon Flyer. So it goes around the Earth's orbit the whole time for 1 week. So our mission and goal is the crew that I'm under negotiation with, we want to do a humanitarian cause. So we don't want big pharma on board. We don't want all these things that are kind of taking over everybody on Earth. We want it to be to show that people like us who come from nothing, have worked hard, can actually attain something that's just different and revolutionary. And as a cancer survivor, I want it to be that people who've had some sort of illness or trauma have actually managed to overcome those hurdles and do something that's completely different. So while we're up there, we'll be doing a lot of blood works, a lot of healthcare systems, a lot of mental health. We'll be streaming 24/7 the whole time. So technology today is great. And then also shout out to Jared Isaacman, who's going to be the future head of NASA. He did a spacewalk on the Dragon Flyer this year, the same time as I was in space. And so he's revolutionized how far and what were capabilities of what a human and the capsule can do. And hopefully we can take it to the next level too.
Oh, sounds amazing. Do we have that video? Almost. Okay. You have a book next year, Grit, Diamonds and Stars. Tell us more about that.
Well, it's basically my life story. It's like a little girl who comes to Scotland and doesn't, my mom's an alcoholic and my dad was absentee. And I kind of was sheltered around and bounced around a lot of different families. And it was just quite a traumatic experience for me. And it took everything for me to get away from that situation. So I would kind of bury myself into books and kind of educate myself or find ways to kind of get away. And so I traveled a lot to learn a lot. I thought there was a good exposure. And it's just basically my life story about how the twists and turns of all that has happened and made me into the person I am today. But I wanted to be a motivational tool as well for girls who come from trauma at a young age to show that you can change those patterns and you can change what your past is and not be dictated by it. And that you can show that anything is achievable. Quite literally, you can reach for the stars.
Let us just take a break from that. We can talk about that when we go back on air. But we have that video right now from your Instagram, which we pulled, and let's have a look at this.
Blue control signs in the blind, yellow KFC.
So this was training, was it?
This is on in space.
Oh, this was all in space. This was all
This is
that
it.
10 minutes,
This is
right?
our in
Yellow
space.
KFT eyes
You
activated.
can see behind the Earth. That's me upside down. So Carson Kitchen was the youngest woman to ever go in space at 21 years old.
Wow. Remember this moment. You want to say that? Wow.
You can hear me narrating, feeling every emotion.
Unbelievable.
She looks like she's crying.
She was.
Oh my gosh. Wow, that was incredible. You said all of you had like little projects to do when you got up there. What was yours?
Well, mine was more the mental health. It was
Okay.
more about talking about how you can cross that barrier by during on land, but to do this in space too was something quite revolutionary. Like for me, I never thought I could ever achieve anything in life. And this was kind of my dream and goal for the last 10 years, and I finally achieved it. And it was like, so where do you go from here? Am I going to crash afterwards? Am I going to be able to integrate back into Earth? Yeah, am I going to be able to use this to utilize it in a good manner, or am I going to become this complete introvert? I mean, someone like Neil Armstrong, who was the first person to ever go to space, he was a little bit traumatized by when he landed back on Earth. He then went back into teaching, did no press, didn't want to talk to anyone, and really became isolated, whereas Buzz Aldrin went completely opposite and was like, I want to tell the world about my experience. So I'm trying to find this real balance. Between the two, and I'm trying to use this for good rather than saying, well, I've done this, great, I've ticked the box, I'm on to my next project. It was like, no, how do I get everyone else involved?
Ah, okay. Hold on.
92 traffic.
On the SLE towards the CTE before the Monday Avenue exit. Look at that. Avoid lane 4, vehicles broken down. On the AYE towards the MCE before the Lower Delta Road exit, another vehicle's broken down. And finally, on the CTE towards the AYE after the Ang Mo Kio Avenue 5 exit, look out for a vehicle having some trouble there. Wherever you are this morning, stay safe. We continue our conversation with astronaut Nicolina Elrick, and we were just asking her on the Big Show TV about her book that's going to be released in the new year called Grit, Diamonds and Stars. When can we expect it on shelves?
I had a little bit of a legal hiccup on that because there's some people, obviously it's my story of my life, so there's a lot of people mentioned in it, and there was a couple of people
You're using real names?
I did initially, not anymore.
Okay.
So I have learned by that, so I handed a couple of copies to the people who were in it. We're just like, no, write me out. So I'm kind of pulling stuff out, and
Okay.
I talk about there's a whole crazy rich Asian lifestyle that happens here in Singapore. So, I wrote a bit about that, and some people who were in that were not happy to be
Yeah.
disclosed about it, so I've had to rewrite that too. So yeah, it was meant to be in the shelves by Christmas. Unfortunately not. I'm hoping by summer it'll be a summertime read.
Okay. Okay. I'll hopefully I can download it onto my Kobo because
Yes,
I love
yes.
my digital books. Okay. I think any questions from you, Yumiko? If not, I have a last one.
I have one.
Okay.
Okay, so what is, I would say, your tagline if a young woman were to come up to you and say, how can I do what you did in life?
Always keep believing in yourself. Don't listen to anyone else. Don't let someone pull you down. Don't listen to those rumors or this negativity or anything else. And find your people. Find people who believe in you too. Surround yourself by the believers, the thinkers, and the doers.
She's about to cry. Final question. Is there life out there?
Well, I didn't see it with my eyes, but I felt it.
I mean, do you believe in life out there?
Yeah, I think we're naive to think that we're the only thing in this huge cosmos. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, I think it's crazy the way you described all the debris that's out there, because it just reminds me of what's happening on Earth, how we're so overcrowded and so overpolluted and so overtrashed, and that's happening elsewhere. It's happening in the oceans.
Yes.
It's happening on Earth. It's
Absolutely.
happening in space. We got to
Absolutely.
stop.
Absolutely. We've got to be a lot more environmentally conscious. We've got to just take some time out and think, okay, do I need to reuse this plastic cup, or do I need to really have a styrofoam box? It's like rethink everything.
Nicolina, when you came on the show the first time in July, we gave you a couple of Kiss 92 stickers that we wanted you to take into space. And you were allowed to take a few things. What did you take up with you?
So I had a payload bag that we were allowed to bring, which was like a little shoebox size. So inside it, I had to be very strategic of what I brought. So I brought with you your Kiss FM stickers. So what I did was you get a certificate of each sticker that comes with it too.
What? Yeah.
And so the sticker is here,
goodness.
and it says it's certified on my flight, and then it's a whole certificate. So I put the other 3 stickers. Could give me 4.
Yeah.
I only didn't frame them all because I wasn't sure if you all would.
Oh, there's sets on that as well.
So
Okay.
every single sticker got certified.
Oh my
but I framed one of them
gosh,
just
thank
for
you so much. Our Kiss 92 stickers went to space.
Yes.
What else did you take up with you, though? What was so
I brought
important?
something for you girls too, as a thank you for being here today.
Oh.
And for all the crew. So our mission patch is NS26.
Which
So-
is what you're wearing.
Which I'm wearing on my t-shirt.
Yeah.
Ah, cute.
Thank you. So cute. And so I couldn't bring all the mission patches because they were too heavy. We had a 3 pound limit on it only. So because of that, I brought thread. And so the thread was then incorporated into the patches after I landed. So
Oh my
these
God, I feel like
patches
crying now.
Technically have been to space. And so underneath they're all certified. So everybody gets one of these today who's in the studio too.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Thank you so much,
So
Nicolina.
one for the studio, and then everyone gets independently one.
We not sharing.
Amazing. Amazing.
So in the bag, yeah, I brought some keychains, some little astronauts, some little stars. And so I'm talking at schools at the moment around Singapore. And so I bring those with me to the schools, and the teachers kind of get them motivated before that and ask them. I send them a whole bunch of space questions, and then I say to them, if you do your homework, I will ask questions on stage during the time, and they all get a little piece of space to take home afterwards. So that's what I brought with
Very
me.
motivational. Thank you so much, Nicolina, for sharing your space journey.
Thank you for
We
having me.
cannot wait for your book to be released in 2025. It is going to be a summer read. It's titled Grit, Diamonds and Stars. Look out for that on shelves. And of course, your next flight, which which is going to be hopefully, fingers crossed, with SpaceX in 2027. And we look forward to keeping track of your space journey.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's been incredible.
Thank you so
And
much for
women
joining.
empowerment. I'm so grateful to be on a show that's all women today. I'm like,
Yes, I
this
love
really.
it.
I'm
We got to
loving
keep the
this.
boys away. All right. Thank you so much, Nicolina Elrick.
Thank
Right
you.
now, here's Jake Harlow, Lovin' on Me.